So, okay, then I share my screen, but I'm not allowed to. Send request.
Yes, yeah, allow. Yes, here we
Okay,
go.
let's do this. Okay, so let's start the presentation. Can you see the first slide?
Yes, and from my side, how about the other people on Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, okay,
Okay,
that's good.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me introduce myself first. So I'm Uwe Roth. I'm a lead researcher and engineer at the cybersecurity group of LIST. And additionally, I'm also a member of the ethics committee at the Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. So I have, let's say, background knowledge on how to treat with ethical questions, how to respond to uncertainties of ethics. And so I think this topic fits quite well in my work. So first, one of the biggest overlap that I see in this presentation to what I did in the past was the rising of AI and with ChatGPT. So when I started in the ethics committee 2 years ago, AI and machine learning was also a topic, but not that much. And when ChatGPT came available, the amount of ethical evaluation requests that are dealing with AI increased, let's say, exponential. So there was in the last year we had a high percentage of requests that are dealing with AI. And so we had to ask ourselves, what are we doing with that? So we at least have a code of ethics, which is well defined, which is quite generic, which is adaptable for all kind of situations. But with the rising of AI, the question was, okay, if you have a certain problem, it's somehow distributed all over the place in the code of ethics. So what should we do with it? Should we simply continue and apply the code of ethics that we have to the new AI cases? And should we give some explanation, let's say some examples that are dealing with AI and how to adapt our code of ethics to it? Or should we write new codes for the code of ethics? These are the questions that we had. We are in the middle of that. But these questions are not only for AI, but they are more or less general for every emerging technology that's new and where you're asking yourself, okay, what are we doing with that? So
Yuri, yeah, are you open for questions directly in the middle of your talk, or you prefer to have questions at the end?
if you like, you can ask the questions directly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no worry, no question for now, but just check with you the protocol, what do you prefer? So
Maybe it's too late when, let's say, the presentation is over, that then the context is missing. Maybe it makes sense that you already asked the question when the slide is on the screen.
okay,
So the idea is now that we first have to define words, yeah, because to be honest, ethics, everyone heard of the word, but what actually does it mean? So let's first introduce the word emerging technologies. So there are novel innovations with the rapid development. So as I said, AI was existing already 20 years ago, but now something has changed, and the progress of the AI has let's say exploded, and we actually don't know where's the end, what's coming next. And we already see the transformation in industry and economics, that people are, let's say, losing their jobs, that different types of jobs appear which didn't exist 2 years ago, and the social impact it's quite strong. Everyone is using it, everyone wants to benefit from it, but it has also problems on the other side, which are dealing with ethics. Yeah. So, but it's AI is not the only emerging technology. For example, quantum computing, also currently a slow burner, so nothing happening. But if it would, let's say, if they would have a breakthrough, then things would change heavily. Robotics, autonomous systems, extended reality, biotechnology, neurotechnology, nanotechnology, all these kind of things there might quickly have an impact. Currently, not so much, but we don't know what the future holds. So
maybe one question, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think the list of technology you have there, I recently actually encountered some discussion about dual usage of technologies. And then somehow I find that actually some of the technology you have listed on the right-hand side largely overlap with those
yeah.
dual usage. Yeah. How do you view this emerging technology and also the overlap with some potential dual usage of those technology for whatever purpose we try to avoid?
When you say
What do
dual
you,
use, you mean military use?
yeah, kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Of course. That was the other aspect that we were facing
Yeah.
with the war Ukraine Russia, and now the money moves from pure research to EDF research. So there's always the question: where's the limit of dual use? Is it only, let's say, something that's been developed for the civil world that's now be applicable for the military world? Is it something that you develop for the military that you could also use for the civil world? These questions are also on our desk, and it's not yet clarified, or at least not in our on our side, how to deal with it. But of course, these technologies have a huge impact on defense. Also, when here, I don't know, robotics, this extended reality, it's obvious that this might have an impact on defense and military.
Mm.
So, of course, you have to consider these kind of things. But I will show you in some later slides how to approach these ethical questions in this regard.
Yeah, thank you.
So this was emerging technology, but the question is what's in fact ethics, and there's a strong link to morality. So on the one side, morality is somehow a value, belief, or norms of group, society, or individuals. So to simplify what's right, what's wrong, or to say it differently, what you ought to do or what you should not do from a moral point of view. Ethics, on the other side, is more a philosophy and a systematic study of morality. So it doesn't define the oughts, it asks the question about why. So it is a reasoning and reflection and justification about moral rules. So to simplify, a moral rule would be you should not kill, but ethic reflection would be why is killing bad? What about self-defense, war, abortion, or death penalty? Then you can reason about that and make assumptions, and obviously these kind of things are heavily depending on your society, on your group, on the time. Let's say 100 years ago, things would have been answered differently. But also here, alone when you say death penalty, yeah, you should not kill is would say, okay, but death penalty, you kill people. So in one part of the world, this is totally okay because it's by law. In other parts, we say, no, we don't do it. We have our moral problems with that to kill people because they committed a crime. So as I said, ethics is more the reasoning about morality. Morality defines the rules. And when you see, let's say, a code of ethics, and you have these rules, they are actually not, in most of the cases, not ethical rules, but they are moral rules. Yeah, what you should do, what you should not do, because it fits into your group behavior. So when you already have a set of rules, existing rules, and now at the horizon there's a new emerging technology, and so the question is, okay, how do you get the new rules? So what can you do? How can you translate the existing rules to the new set of rules, or extend, or yeah, modify? That's the more or less the question. So what you can do is you can take the existing rules. They are not in free space. You usually created the existing moral rules on base of some shared values, and you can try to make an ethical reflection on these existing rules, and then it would be good if you would derive some ethical principles from these reflections. So ethical principles are guidelines, orientation, a framework for moral reasoning. I will give you an example how this looks in reality. So, and if you have these guidelines, orientation, these ethical principles, then you can check, okay, now we have this new emerging technology, we have a new situation. How would this look like in this set, in the light of this existing ethical principles? So, and then with that, we can define new moral rules specific for this emerging technology. For example, AI. Some think the reviewing of job applications with AI is a super idea. So, is it? So let's say you have your existing ethical moral rules that say people should not take should take responsible decisions, and technology must not harm people. So the reflection, the ethical reflection would be why should people decide on take decisions and not machines? Because machines cannot take responsibility. Yeah, you can't sue a machine. Machines ignore human dignity. They don't care about your dignity and the attribution of wrong decisions. What's wrong, they can't decide. So if you take that, you could derive some ethical principles like human oversight, accountability, human dignity, or non-maleficence. Yeah. And then when you say, okay, now we have this AI review on job applications, how would you translate these ethical principles in the, or let's say, how would you take this review of an application with AI in the light of this ethical principle? And then you would come up with a rule like, applicants must not be excluded automatically by AI without human oversight, and decisions that are taken by the AI must be transparent. So you should be able to figure out why the AI made such a decision.
Can I ask you a question about this? Because this was a discussion we had, especially in the healthcare application of AI. And even if the doctor have to take a decision, right, based with the support of an AI algorithm that would help, I don't know, to diagnose best treatment. And it's kind of, life or death situation, and you need to take a decision. And this algorithm is there to support you, and according to their purposes, is the best, let's say, possible solution for that type of patient based on the data that they provide to the algorithm. And then there's always this question, at least in healthcare, like, okay, and if the doctor decides to follow the instructions of the AI algorithm that helps them, co-pilot, and the decision, was not the best one, this patient died, who is the accountable person? Is that the doctor, or is the person that developed this algorithm and considered that type of data has any accountability or responsibility regarding the results of this algorithm?
Yeah, that's when I in one of the next slides we have this transparency rule that you need to know why an AI made a certain decision, and if the human in the loop receives the result of an AI taking a decision, and it's not questioning or let's say trying to say, okay, give me some reasoning behind your decision, and simply takes it, then it's of course the responsibility of the doctor, because he's the gatekeeper of the decision. He's the one who's pressing the button. Sure, AI have their limitations, and you can assume that things are hallucinated or wrong. And if you know that already, that things can go wrong in AI, then you must be especially careful about what you do with the results. And then you can't blame the trainer of the AI model that they said, okay, they did something and now someone is dead, and now I sue ChatGPT because of that. Because it's known that AIs are not working in all situations.
I was not going that direction. Maybe I can rephrase my question. It's regarding liability, because we're talking about creating new policies, right? And if somebody comes to the market with a new algorithm that, look, this is based on, I don't know, 10 years of research that we are collecting data, and the best accuracy, we can guarantee that to you. Because doctors will unfortunately not understand, even if you explain to them why the algorithm is giving this result. And it's usually not their, they don't have lifetime, I think, to learn medicine and learn machine learning. So
Are you assuming that the hospital, let's say, would allow the use of AI at the first place? Or are we talking about the situation? Because what happens at the moment? At the moment, the doctors are not expected to know everything, right?
no.
Every day, I'm sure in every hospital there is a problem they face, and the protocol is that if you don't know, you consult. You consult a colleague of yours in the same area, or there's a consilium that gets together, 3 or 4 doctors, and they get to the drawing board, like in Dr. House, right? So like, what are the yeah, it's like what do we know, what do we don't know, what's the best decision? And at the end, there is in medicine is, I think, especially complicated. And I very often have problems chatting to my friends that are in medicine coming from engineering or computer science. And even if there's like beer involved, it gets like a really heated discussion, because in engineering, everything is binary.
Yeah.
Something is or isn't, works or not. There is certain input that has to give you a specific output, even if you don't know what that output, where you got it from. If you follow the process of induction, you will eventually get to like why you got this output. In medicine, it's not that, because we don't know a lot about the human body, right? So when doctors come to the decision, they leave the room, they rarely leave with like 100% certainty that something is good or not. But I think they carry the mutual decision. So it's like to the best. It's also why it's very difficult to sue doctors, because it's hard to prove that they had enough data and parameters, and based on this they made a good or bad decision. You know, you can sometimes show like really like in your face bad decisions. I don't know, like a drunk doctor, or a doctor mixing the dosage because they did not calculate the weight of the patient, or they mixed the patients. You know, they removed the left lung, but it's supposed to be the right lung, things like this. But like in current situation, I think it's like this. You meet with other experts, you make the mutual decision, and probably the responsibility is yours as a leading doctor, but at least you have very clear proof that you have taken all the steps to make the best decision possible. I think we're still quite far from hospitals putting into the policy that you are allowed to use AI. On the other hand, very often doctors just open the book and they read and they say, okay, based on what I've read in the book, I think I should do this. And that's fine, because you always go back to the literature, right? How is it different to ChatGPT, where ChatGPT can also tell you from which book it comes from? And that book, by the way, may be wrong. So if we ever allow AI to be used in healthcare by hospital policy, for example, I think at the end, it will be still a doctor responsibility at the end. But can you put 5 human doctors on one side of the scale and AI, which is trained based on the knowledge of millions of different books? Can you weight that? I think the level of comfort for hospitals will be still like towards the humans, you know. But I don't know how far are we from actually being able to put this into the policy.
But I think though there is a little difference between the type of algorithms that maybe I'm thinking about, like actually algorithms that makes decision making to help doctors, like co-pilots, and LLMs in general can help you to find the best source. I mean, to your at least time to read the decision. But there are other ones that are like, for example, you're having a stroke. I need to decide now what I do. And then based on the data, the image that I just collected, I put it in the algorithm, and the algorithm will tell the doctor, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. And I don't think we have at least moral or ethical laws in law in general, principles in law to tell us, okay, is that the algorithm, the company that developed the type of algorithms also responsible for the results, because the doctor doesn't have the time to actually
But
go to
but
the
you
source.
can't say
that
yeah,
type of
doctor hasn't time. But I think there are two elements. The first one is legal. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can clarify lots of things with legal contracts. The company who's selling the software will likely put something in this in their statements should not be used without human oversight. The other thing is that what the hospital defines for itself as an ethical principle on how to use AI. So if the code of ethics of the hospital says it's okay if you use AI and you don't care about how this decision was taken from the AI, then it's your or the hospital's code of ethics. If the code of ethics says the doctor must take responsibility about how to understand the decision of the AI and make it his own, and he's responsible for the treatment, then it's another rule. So it's totally up to the moral value system of the hospital beside the legal one, yeah, because the patient will sue the hospital, not they will not care about if how they came to a decision or if the contract with the AI company is waterproof or not. So there's no general rule about how to deal with these situations. You have to reflect in an organization by yourself and then come to a rule that is applicable for certain situations so that a doctor can see, check my code of ethics. I see a rule says, okay, you shall not use AI in these situations. You're allowed to use AI in these situations, and that's it. Yeah, but is this somehow okay?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this was an example on how to come from an existing set of rules for a new set of rules in the new emerging technology. So the question is, how can you develop ethical principles from your experiences, from your existing moral rules? So when I did or tried to do this kind of exercise for AI in our institution, I found lots of different, let's say, sources. And at the beginning, I had, let's say, a huge list of ethical principles, and I reduced them at the end to 12. Yeah. But then I said, okay, I don't want to annoy you with 12 rules that I developed for myself for AI. Let's make 5 out of them. So I regrouped all these ethical principles and sub-principles into 5. Yeah. So, and I call them transparency and trust, accountability and human agency, safety, security, and data governance, justice and fairness, and well-being and sustainability. So this is not a God-given set of principles. This is my own. I did it for the AI aspect at our company. So because when I was approaching the internet and I searched for AI ethical principles, I saw that different organizations have different sets of principles. For example, the Artificial Intelligence Act of the European Commission has 7 ethical principles. The UNESCO, I don't know, 8, 9. OECD has 4 or 5. United Nations have a different set. The Council of Europe has another set. And when you read them, you figure out they have different words, several words that are, the same. Like for example, transparency. It's here. It's here. Then explainability. It's here. It's here. Accountability here. And so it's more or less the way these organizations group these principles in, let's say, small little baskets. And of course, about the mission. For example, the UNESCO has a different mission because they are about human rights, rather than here the AI Act, so the legal framework. I added also some ethical principles from the healthcare. So they are slightly lots of smaller, these lists, and they have a strong overlap with this genetic engineering. And if you check at the end my set of sub principles, you figure out that everything can fit somewhere. The only question is how do you manage these baskets? So let's start with my transparency and trust principle. So which means to be being honest about the technology and give confidence for the users to use the technology. So transparency is one. So when you see these categories, you always figure out, okay, they are somehow AI driven, but I think we are IT background, so it makes sense to adapt them to AI and not to so much to medicine and healthcare. So transparency, is the technology open about its operations? So can you see what it's doing? Can a user or an auditor understand how and why a decision was made? So this explainability aspect. Then compliance with standards and norms. Of course, now since we have the AI Act and which demands some level of transparency or describes which AI systems are forbidden, which ones are high risk systems. Lots of burden has been taken away from the ethics. We can always point to the AI Act, but sure, there should be compliant with standards and norms, and the communication about risks, yeah, especially in AI, when you see, okay, what happens, or what are the situations, or can you manage the situations in which an AI does not act in the scope of its definition. That's to say, okay, maybe you throw in some unexpected data into the system, and then the system provides some unexpected results, which haven't been foreseen because these occasions are quite rare. So can you describe or identify the risk that the system has, and can you communicate about that to the users of the system so that they know exactly, okay, this is the scope where I should use the AI system, and everything is left and right from that I shouldn't do, because then the outcome is unexpected or in worst case deadly for some people. So then this last one, I had a huge problem to fit him somewhere. It was about the authenticity and veracity of the output. So the question was, can you be sure that the output, for example, for an AI system is authentic and not let's say invented by the system because it can't say I don't know. Can you avoid that the system is misused to generate fake content like deep fakes or misleading news or anything that a person might not realize that it's not true? And the last one was also for AI. So when you lose the original input from humans and over time you feed the AI output back into the AI system, then you have a degradation of the output and you lost the diversity. For example, there was an example where you said, okay, give me an elephant, and then it shows you 100 elephants in different situations. And then when you start to feed in these elephants into the system again, at the end, when you ask, give me an elephant, they looked all the same, with the same background, with the same looking to the left. So the loss of diversity of the output increases the more you feed the output from the AI back into the system. And you need to find ways to prevent that happening. Then you have accountability. Yeah, humans must remain in charge. Responsibility cannot be outsourced to machines. So who is responsible when something goes wrong? Yeah, that was the question that we had 5 minutes ago. Accountability and responsibility. So liability is something, yeah, it's more or less the same, but a little bit different, which is the legal aspect. So who's legally liable for harm caused? Yeah. Is there a human in the loop, and can they overrun the system? Yeah, this is quite important if something has to be done quite fast. You have an AI system that's reacting, like in a car. Yeah, you have an autonomous car, and then it says, yeah, you must always be able to interfere. But when someone is jumping in front of you, you have a reaction time of a second. How should you do that? Yeah, that's the question. Then human agency. Does the technology preserve or diminish the user's ability to act freely and make their own choices? So if the AI takes too much from your own, yeah, away, and then at the end you can only say something, yeah, and then maybe it's not a free decision anymore, yeah, so that you outsource your decisions to an AI because you actually can't say anything because you have no clue what's going on. Then safety, security, and data governance. So system persons and their data must be protected. So reliability, robustness, and stability. This is more about can you ensure that the system is doing something useful with unexpected inputs? Is it not crashing? Is it stable enough to take information and still not reboot? Yeah, this is more about the system itself. It doesn't say about okay, safety, non-maleficence. This is about okay, can you hack the system? It's not about that the system is reliable and works and doesn't crash. It's about someone trying to attack the AI with wrong input so that it produces wrong output, or that you hack a robot and so that it gets crazy and kills people. You don't want to do that, yeah? And then from malicious use, that was the thing, yeah, you have let's say a weapon driven by AI, you are able to hack it, and now the weapon goes somewhere else instead of where it should go. Then the aspect of privacy, confidentiality. So you have business data, you have personal data, you must keep it secure. You must be sure that the data is authentic, accurate, and managed responsible through the life cycle. So especially when you have AI and train it with business data, would be bad if in future someone could ask a question and then you can extract personal information or business data from the AI system. Then justice and fairness. So technological progress should serve everyone's equally and not deepen divides. So fairness and equality. So does the technology treat all users just and provide an equal outcome? This is not only for an individual, poor and rich, but also for countries. Yeah, if a country is able to spend billions on developing AI and only takes it for themselves, they have a strategic advantage against countries without the money. And so if they keep the AI for themselves and let the poor countries suffer, then the divide gets even worse. Yeah. So and the non-discrimination, so you don't want to embed biases into the systems. For example, that you say, okay, give me a beautiful woman, and then the only thing that you see at the end is a white blonde girl. You want to have, let's say, diversity in the training of the data, poor, rich, disabled, healthy, woman, man, trans, whatever. So you want to have not only a training AI model that suits a certain group of people. You want to have unbiased data. And the same for the accessibility. Everyone should be able to access the technology in the same way. Of course, if it's expensive, you can't assume that everyone is able to use it. But in principle, it should be accessible by everyone. Then well-being and sustainability. Technology should enrich human life while respecting dignity and the planet's future. So you have on the one side, you have social well-being and beneficence. So it should contribute positively to society, human dignity and individual autonomy. So it should respect the dignity and promote personal freedom and should not diminish individual autonomy. So you should not be able to, okay, I can't survive without without the AI on my phone. And I don't do anything. I wouldn't know how to survive my daily life without my AI-driven thing. Yeah. So and maybe also if you accept everything that the AI says, you lose critical thinking, creativity, you get dumb over time. And this might not be immediately, but over time you're expecting everything and then you trust everything and then you accept all the fake news and then you get you don't even know how to draw a circle because you are totally not creative anymore. So it should be avoided, yeah. And also the democracy, pluralism should be supported in in a range of diverse cultures and democratic principles. Then on the other side, this was the social well-being. You have the environmental well-being, so long-term environment impact. It's not only about, let's say, polluting the environment with chemicals, but if you need 10 nuclear power plants to run an AI farm, something is wrong. Yeah. So you also should think about the legacy that you give to the next generation. Yeah. So these are my shot on potential ethical principles with sub-principles. So whenever you do this for your own, yeah, you have to develop your own culture on thinking of ethical principles. But the question is now, how do you get from the ethical principle to the moral rules? And this is an approach by a professor called Philip Bray. I didn't invent it by myself because I'm not a philosopher and I'm not an ethical student. So I could only figure things out while preparing the slides. So who we see, he's a Dutch professor at the University of Twente. And he's more or less his studies are about exactly what we're talking about, emerging technologies and ethics. So the problem that he realized, and which is obvious, so when the technology is there and changes everything, and then you start to figure out, okay, how are we dealing with new rules? Then it's maybe too late already. Yeah, for example, what's happening in the United States with AI, they have no rules. Yeah, they can do more or less what they want. And now this technology is here. We want to use it. We want to benefit from it. But we say, okay, but we have a different set of moral values. How we are dealing with that, and that I think that was the reason why the AI Act was developed. To say, okay, we need to somehow limit things. We can't let it go. And then, and if everything is in the AI model, you can't take it out anymore. Then it's too late. We have to now figure out how to approach this new technology with ethics. So and his solution, so he developed two systems about ethical reflection and early and proactively adapting these things to the future. These called disclosive computer ethics and anticipatory ethics for emerging technologies. These are the two key elements that he developed. This is super simplification in 4 slides, so you can't expect that I know everything. It's more or less the core idea. So what he says, okay, every technology has some uncovered hidden values that you have to first identify and get transparent so that you can react on that. So the key message is technology is not neutral. Every design contains moral assumptions, and this disclosive computer ethics try to make these embedded values visible. So analyze the design, identify moral assumptions, ask which values are implicitly promoted, and undercover conflicts and show how these hidden values can conflict with the desired ethical principle. And so this tool is more a diagnostic tool. It does not propose new rules. It only helps you to understand what technology says before it's even used. So for example, when you use a fitness tracker for yourself to improve the health. So the ethical principle would be autonomy and freedom. You want to be free, you want to be autonomous, you want to take your own decisions. But actually, the tracker is constantly tracking what you're doing, the steps, the calories, how much you sleep, and it sends you some notifications and rewards to optimize your behavior. So how much is this autonomy and freedom? So the conflict obviously is this design suggests that optimizing one's body through data takes precedence over its own free choice. And the hidden argument is it's better to constantly be monitored to stay healthy than to act on your own inner motivation. So the watch tells me what to do. Why should I discuss this with? Yeah, yeah. So the result is the tracking undermines the principle of human autonomy through subtle control mechanisms with these rewards, these you reach the next level of goals. Yeah. So, and if you know that, okay, this hidden values are, let's say, attacked by this technology, then you can check, okay, what should we do with it? Yeah. Now that's been clear. So the other step was this anticipatory ethics for emerging technologies, which is more or less you are in a situation where the new technology arrives and you need to predict the future and the impact. So ATE goes beyond analyzing the present. It anticipates future ethical problems before they become reality. So you need somehow to predict things. So while DCA provides the analysis of technology existing design and to uncover its hidden ethical issues, the ATA then uses these results as a foundation to anticipate future problems and then formulate rules. So you need to think about, okay, now I have this AI technology. What can happen in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? And what risks are with that when these things get really successful? So you want to develop scenarios. And how you're doing that, you talk to people, you talk to experts, you talk to users, you talk to politicians, and then you develop on base of that new rules. So it's a proactive tool which tries to work already now to predict the future. So more or less ethics by design. The example would be safety and justice, and the topic is autonomous driving with AI models behind. So how would it look like in 20 years when every car is dominated with self-driving feature? So we know already now if that there are that life and death decisions that a car would have to take in a fraction of a second. So how should we deal with it? So should it if it's not possible to prevent the accident, so who should die? The passenger, on what base? Age, how many people are in the car? Who is on the street? Do we know it's an old person, a young person? Are there 5 persons or only one? So on what base do you take the decision? So with that, you need to already think about what could be an ethical rule if this car makes mistakes. Yeah. So a rule would be after you reflected on this. So algorithms must not use personal data for accident decisions. So if you are driving, you shouldn't care about age, gender, how many people, who's in the car, what personal properties does the person have. It should be independent on that. And then you should be able to figure out after this has happened that someone can make an audit. So the decision process must be subsequently comprehensible to a human expert. So the accident happened, someone is opening the car, reading the data, and then figures out what the AI did, and then says, okay, this was obviously the only choice, or good or bad. So now we have tools. So this whole lecture was about. So we have the existing moral rules, we defined ethical principles, and we derived new moral rules out of that. And now we have tools for the emerging technology with these ATI and DCE tools. Well, this is on a big scale. When you say future anticipation on base of politicians or experts, but you can at least try to derive from the ethical principle to the moral rules. And to be honest, when we did in our ethical committee this little exercise on base of AI, we didn't know about this professor and what he's doing. But we more or less did the same. We tried to have some ethical principles, and then we tried to develop these moral rules in the context of these AIs on base of, let's say, what could go wrong with the AI. Yeah. So when I asked at the beginning, what would we do? Should we apply the existing code of ethics, explain things, or adapt it? We are currently in the process of explaining things. So we will not adapt now our code of ethics on base of the new technology of AI, because it's adjusting or changing the code of ethics it's a huge thing. Yeah, you can't do it. It's more like changing the constitution. So what we will do is we will give some explanations, give some examples, describe the ethical principles behind it, and then we hope that people will understand. We match these explanations with the existing code of ethics so that we say we don't develop all these new non-binding rules on base of thin air. We try to show where these rules come from in the code of ethics that already exist. And then maybe we get a little awareness about the problem. And that's my speech. Thanks a lot.
Yes, yeah. Thanks a lot, Yubi. I think we have questions also on site, and also anybody who is online having questions, feel free to raise your hands. But yeah, go ahead with questions.
Yeah, no, I just wonder, what if we cannot achieve or enforce the rules that will be developed, right? Still in the development. Is there any linear or boundary that would say, okay, we cannot use this technology or we cannot apply this in a certain context? Because we're never gonna get the accountability for it, or we're never gonna, or we already foresee that this can affect our well-being, right? That was one of the lists you showed.
So that I understood you correctly, the problem is that currently when there's a new technology approaching, you not necessarily understand the consequences. You would like to avoid that you are too late and things already, let's say, in the society established, and then when you would afterwards create some new rules, and people say, hey, you take away this feature from me, this is not fair, other countries can use it. So it's better to be early in your trying to figure out what can go wrong, and then define for yourself or your group or your organization some ethical principles around that, define some new rules, so that you at least give guidance to the people who are using this technology. Here and in our institution, when people are using AI, on what base? Yeah, if they read the code of ethics, they will not find anything specific to AI. They can imagine things, but will they be able to map these rules to their concrete problem in the use of AI in their daily life? And that's the point, that we should give them guidance. And that's the reason why we said, okay, we give make a document where we explain things, but we don't define new rules now. That's too early, because this would be, the question is also, you don't want to have a book full of super specific rules that are for specific technologies, and then you will have to adapt or to change your code of ethics every 2 years. And it should have a certain generic message, but with this side note document, we will be able to create awareness for the user and say, okay, I'm not sure if this is ethical sound. Let's read that document, and then I have an idea what could be the problem, or what countermeasures should I take to avoid certain risks.
Yeah.
What worries me a lot is the legal part of all of this as well, beside of ethics, because if you imagine you have you walk into the car and you unfortunately drive into the other car, you will never go and sue Volkswagen because it was a Volkswagen car you were driving, right? And then Volkswagen introduces, let's say, this the object detection technology using LiDAR, like the way we have in most of the cars. It automatically brakes or it doesn't brake, whatever. And then you have this one customer in which situation, or in which case the car stopped even though there was no object on the road, but it thought there was an object on the road. And it broke the nose of that customer or of that driver, right? That one customer is very likely to, in today's world, bring Volkswagen to court and make a big case about this. So it doesn't matter that it saved 100 people probably that month. It's that one customer. So I think a lot of companies are also, maybe they want to sell the technology, they want to implement the technology, but they're very reluctant. Yeah. I think also these ethical discussions and moral and legal will be amplified, especially next year, because if you remember, AI Act is really kicking in next year. I think somewhere around June or July, we have to, I mean banks and whoever is
Not us.
not us, thankfully, but the corporate institutions, industry members, banks and governments, they have to actually implement AI, whoever is using biometrics especially, right? So I wonder how that will work. For example, in case of GDPR, nobody really knew what to do at the beginning. And then we slowly started to translate GDPR for different stakeholders. Because I don't know if you have this in Netherlands, but in Ireland or Poland, whenever you want to call a company and ask a question or extract some kind of information, it's very often people say, no, I can't share that because it's GDPR. And actually, they could share this because, for example, I'm asking about a phone number for a different company that is anyway available on the internet or business registry, but people are more like, I don't know, so I better not share and back it up with GDPR. It's probably a safe option, but also it causes some issues. So this ethical, and that's why I like projects like this that are super interdisciplinary, because up until a couple of years back, we were closed in this engineering bubble where we heard about how to develop AI, how ML algorithms work, how to make them faster, and then we obviously tried to attack like FL, right? It was a big thing for privacy until we figured out that there's actually a way to do poisoning attacks on FL, act like a malicious node used in training, and that opened another scope. We, as engineers, I think computer scientists, we rarely consider any ethical. We put out the technology and then let other people worry about this, and we don't care about transparent, even in like research work, right?
Yeah.
So very often PhD students, our PhDs, they produce results. But then you go back 3 months later and you ask, how did you get that graph here? Like, where is the input data for this? And they're like, it's gone. Or like, I don't remember, or I don't have it saved. That those kind of issues. And they've been just amplified later in the industry cases. So it's very interesting to learn from people like you, Uwe. Sorry, can I get the name right? Is it Uwe?
Uwe.
Uwe. Okay, so you got that wrong as well, Aaron.
Yeah, I speak it in German way. I guess. Are you German speaking in a way?
I'm German speaking. I'm German.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that I'm guessing.
So there's some people waiting also to join.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me just get it.
But anyway, I'm hoping to learn more from that perspective because we very often just forget about that part.
We probably, this is I'm pretty sure nowadays, this is the main reason that so many technologies are not actually applicable still in so many domains that we see, it will be so useful, it will be so nice to have an AI support like in healthcare.
Yeah.
But because we don't have the guarantees or we cannot enforce any of the ethical rules that we are proposing here today, that they're not going to do it. They're not going to change their protocol because it's so many liability issues that they're going to be sued or the doctor can get their reputation damaged or so many other things, or the life of the patient, which is the most important thing, is in danger because you cannot fulfill any of these rules. Then we're still not able to implement or to see real life application of it. And it's a pity, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks God that doctors still are the only ones to write prescriptions because very often you see people treating themselves with ChatGPT or even worse, not ChatGPT, but like just the website and the forum, the comments, I have a headache and then and then you have like a tree of options and you have like small spot on your hand and then you post this picture and like hundreds of people are saying, oh, you were on, this is your like 3 days, you gone. So
True.
we have to be very careful because I know, again, talking to my friends in medicine, that people are coming into their practice and they already come in with the solution. They already tell them what's wrong with them and they just want the prescriptions. They're not like, oh, I have a headache. They're like, I need ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And without saying anything.
Yeah.
So doctors very often have to hold on. And I think they will be also reluctant to use AI for some time. But again, like which areas are the best to start with? I think maybe for like radiology, if you do like really
This is already mathematical.
yeah, and also observing, and you need to go through thousands and thousands of X-rays until you pick that, make the recognition to like perfection. I think we've seen them during COVID. There were a lot of data sets with the images of lungs, right? And I think maybe in most hospitals, good radiologists, it's like very looked forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, now a lot of considerations. Again, let's go to the next.
No worries. I think we are actually having a break, but then just big thanks go to Uwe, and I really appreciate the methodology you're proposing, because I think the ATE and also those two methods you're proposing clearly provides a acceleration of the process. Because without that approach, I think the whole kind of chain of transforming and for ethics principles to catch up with the technology will be always lagging behind. So now I can see that what you are showing there give definitely hope for us. That's the things we actually somehow more aligned and move faster together. So
okay, thanks.
Okay, yeah.
Can I ask you to share the slides? Because I think it will be useful in my course.
I can share them.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Let me